Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show today. Thank you for being here. I am thrilled to have with me Tara Kerwin, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist and co-owner of Renovation Counseling Center. In this conversation today, Tara opens up about her own journey and her partner, a partner in life and in practice, and the all-in approach she and her husband took to developing the relationship renovation model. This is a really fun topic because we really haven't tackled this on the show before, and Tara is amazing at breaking down how we can better our relationships. And also she works with a lot of people who are really struggling in their marriages, in their partnerships. We dive into some of the toughest challenges that couples face, things like infidelity, communication breakdowns, and different triggers. And she shares and explores how understanding attachment wounds and past traumas can actually open the door to deeper emotional safety. And she shares practical tools for recognizing negative core beliefs and building active listening skills. So it's really a great, action-packed episode with a lot of great, juicy information. Whether you're looking to strengthen your bond or rekindle your commitment or learn how to hold space for your partner, you're going to really walk away with some great strategies in this episode. Please check out Tara. Her information will be linked in the show notes for you. She is so wonderful. I absolutely loved chatting and learning from her in this episode today. So I know you'll love it too. Also, a side note on, seasons are changing and the weather is definitely heating up where we are. A lot of my clients, a lot of women like to kind of switch up or tweak their skincare routines at this time of year, any time where the seasons are changing. And I just like to always remind my clients and anyone listening that this is a time to make sure you're using your SPF if you're looking to prevent sun damage, and also using your antioxidants, which is, both internally, like with the food that we eat, but also externally. So my favorite ingredient when it comes to antioxidants is always going to be vitamin C. And our Boost is a serum. It's a complex with a variety of different antioxidants. So they just work synergistically to help protect your skin from free radical damage, to help repair sun damage. It's very lightweight. So if you are oilier, you can definitely use this. Actually, it has niacinamide, which really helps with balancing oil. So I have a lot of oily people who love to use this product, and a lot of people who are in like really hot and humid climates that absolutely love this because they don't want too much on their skin. This kind of just soaks right into your skin and you don't feel anything. It's not heavy whatsoever. If you want to learn more about this product, you can click the link in my show notes. And if you remember to use the code podcast for 20% off your entire order. If you have not used it before, even if you've been a client and you haven't used that code, it will work for you. So make sure to reach out to me as well if you have any questions or want to know if something is better for your skin type, or if you have any questions about the line in general. But with that being said, thank you for being here and enjoy this episode with Tara. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Learning to Glow podcast. I am so excited to have Tara with us today. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. So excited to be here and to meet you, of course.
Yeah, I'm so excited you're here. And we are going to be talking about relationships today. And, we've really never dove into this topic too deeply on my show. So I'm really happy to have you here today. And I'm so excited for our conversation.
How long is your podcast? Just kidding. I could talk relationships all day.
Okay, well, this might be our first part series, so we might have to have you come back. But can you tell us first just a little bit about you and what you do and what your company does? You're a podcaster, so yeah. you have a lot going on. Share with us what you do.
All right. My name is Tara Kerwin, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have been for, 21 years now. And my husband and I own Relationship Renovation Counseling Center. We have about 15 therapists that are trained in the model we developed. And then we also started our podcast back in, I believe it was 2018. So the
Oh.
Relationship Renovation podcast, which people from all around the world listen to, and we feel so grateful that we've used our own like heartache and what happened to us to now help others. And kind of our passion is just supporting couples and learning the skills that you need to have a healthy, thriving relationship, because it's just not innate in our body, but we want it to be, but it's not. And so, I mean, I can go into the whole story why we created what we did, but I think the thing for me that I've known since I was really little is that I've always wanted to work with couples. Like when I was 4 years old, I didn't know it was called couples counselor, but I would cry when I would see couples not talking or if they were fighting. And I would just want to go like save them, which is obviously not healthy. And so I just knew my whole life, like that was my mission, my passion. And so when EJ and I went through what we did, I was like, oh, of course this is happening. Okay.
Well, tell us about that. I'd love to hear how you became interested in, I know you said you've been interested in working with couples since you were a child, but tell us, what happened to make you want to do this?
Okay, so I met EJ. We were both specializing in eating disorders at the time. So we worked together at a residential treatment facility. And I always had a private practice doing couples on the side, but I also loved working with eating disorders. And so EJ was there, and he was like so cool. Like he was working with teenagers who are dealing with anorexia, and like he was like the coolest therapist I'd ever known. Like he was just so he blew me away. He was married, he had 2 boys, and I remember thinking like EJ is just a really cool guy. So we became friends. And then he went through a pretty difficult divorce. I think his boys were like maybe 1 and 3 at the time of his divorce. And so, of course, I'm like going to be his wing sister, and we're going to set EJ up to like, right, just find him a little rebound, because it was, right, a really messy situation that he went through. And so a bunch of us all went out, coworkers, trying to lift EJ's spirits. And he kissed me that night. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't happening, but it is. And here we are like 15 years later. And so that's how it started. Like I fell madly in love with him and never once even thought he was the person for me. Because again, he had been married and kids. And so we start dating. He's got 2 kids who are now 4 and 2, 50% of the time, right? So we had like 50% of the time where it's just the two of us. I was 37, so I was already like, had my own 3-bedroom condo, only had to do laundry like once a week. Fast forward a year and a half, we get engaged and married and go on our honeymoon. And I come back pregnant with twins. And so I was, of course, excited, like not scared, but excited, thinking, oh, I love this guy and I love his boys. And now we're having twins. What? And so what happened was, so basically 0 to 4 kids in a year and a half is what happened for me. And then the twins were born. I have boy-girl twins, and they had colic. And if you don't know what colic is, because I didn't, they cry like 18 hours a day, like screaming. And I was nursing every hour. And I would not sleep for 5 days. And I had horrible postpartum. And I thought EJ would just know what to do with everything because he'd already had kids before. I had never even changed a diaper. And that was it. I was like, I am divorcing you. I did not sign up for this. This is awful. I can't stand this. My life went from pretty manageable to overwhelmed, because not only did I have the twins, 50% the time I also had the 2 boys, and I didn't have any help with them. So I just had to manage these 4 kids while EJ went and took over my entire caseload. So I wasn't working. And then this was like the moment it happened. I was trying to go on a walk with the twins in the double stroller, because the only time they would not cry is when they're like, going back and forth in the stroller. And I called EJ, and I was just in tears. And I said, we have to help other couples in our community. Like if you and I were both therapists, I've been doing this for, it was like over a decade at that time. I said, if 2 professionals are having this hard of a time. It was a stressful transition, but nobody prepared us. I'm like, this is what we have to do. And he was like, absolutely not, Tara. I do not like working with couples. He's like, that is not my jam. And I was like, but just wait, right? Because I could feel that like it was in my gut, like we have to do this. And so we took about 2 years planning, preparing, researching. We developed a whole model. It's called the Relationship Renovation Model. And we had no idea if it would work. And lo and behold, we started our practice in 2016. And by 2018, we were like on a year wait list because it was just EJ and I. And we knew couples couldn't wait for a year. So we just took what we developed and we started training other therapists in it. So now we have a staff of 15 who we like 7 days a week, tons of couples getting help. You see them hugging in the parking lot because they're right across from our podcast studio. And yeah, we created this out of our own like really difficult suffering. And I can just say this, had I not been a therapist with like some of that knowledge, I don't think I would have stayed. It was so overwhelming. So I'm grateful that I had that other part of me that was like, oh, I have to figure this out. I can't just like run away from this. That would be an unhealthy cutoff. But there's so many people that don't have that, knowledge or experience. And so I see how people, right? It's like a 49% divorce rate. I see how people just leave. And for us, it's like when couples come in, the couples will be like, how will we know if this will work? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if we knew that, like we would be so busy. We would be on Oprah. Like we don't know. But what I do know is that both of you guys are in a place of fear and trying to make a decision around staying together or not staying together in this place is not, you're not going to have clarity around it. So let us take you through what we've developed and we go all in. I mean, we start at like attachment from when they were in the womb to the time where they met. We do a whole relationship timeline. We're like, then give us like a few months. Then you'll have that clarity. Like, can we make this work? So it's not about will this work, but it's about gaining that insight and knowledge and empathy and just care again so that you can make a better decision for you. And if you have kids, great. Your kids get to see you going through something really difficult and trying to navigate it, being the best person you can be in a really crappy situation. So
wow. That is
I know that's a lot.
No, that is amazing. I mean, I feel like the best people to help in situations are, most of the time people who've been through it themselves and have that experience, not just from your professional experience, but from personal experience, I think is so impactful. I feel like asking, like you said, what you went through in that short amount of time and to have twins. I always wonder, you're a twin.
I'm a twin. It did not skip a generation, Jessica. It did not.
I was a little worried because my husband's a twin. I was like, I don't know if I could do that, but thankfully they came out one at a time. But yeah, I feel like that is such a shock and, something so new. And it could have been, like you said, this, I could leave, or you could come out of it. And I feel like asking when you have people coming to see you, your clients, obviously there's a big demand for this because people have the desire, they want to make it work. They want to, see if they can do it. And even, from what it sounds like, you're going to come out of your experience with your model better for it, either way. But tell me what couples are coming to you with, like, what is one of the biggest things that you see when you're having a new couple come in to see you? Like, what are their struggles? What are their biggest challenges? And where are they at? Are they like, this is our last chance before we're out the door? Or like, tell me a little bit about that.
So I love that you asked that question. I would say 75 to 80% of couples it's either this or we're done.
Yeah.
They waited until the very last. Actually, research shows couples stay for 6 years unhappy before getting help.
Wow.
EJ and I are trying really hard this year to do preventative stuff. Like we're writing a book called You Had Me at Goodbye. Like, okay, great. I'm leaving. Okay, now we'll go to couples therapy. But why not? Why do not wait for that crisis to happen? But we're humans. And so it's not so bad. I can just get it. So basically 75 to 80% of couples, it's either this or we're done. 75% of those couples actually end up staying together at our center and really feeling more deeply connected. And the other 25%, they have amicable endings. They sometimes have amicable endings with the therapist. They're better co-parents. I would say the top three, oh, there's so many. Infidelity is huge. We see a lot of emotional and physical infidelity. The roommate situation after having kids. Oh, I just am not seen anymore. Like, I don't feel special anymore. We're not having sex anymore. That's a huge one. And obviously, like, the biggest one is just total breakdown in communication, defensiveness, criticism, blame, resentment. So I would say those are the top three with little sprinkles of like premarital, like, we're good, but we want to be better. We're like, oh, can you be on our podcast? We need more of you. So I would say I would say that's like a good fit for like what our center works with. And unfortunately, right now we're seeing more like domestic abuse, which we don't see couples actively in domestic abuse, but we have seen a significant increase since the COVID happened, of just people really spiraling out of control and orders of protection. And right, we don't take couples in that realm because they have to do some of that individual work first, but it is more that we're seeing just like more safety issues, which is sad, but understandably too.
Yeah, that's not good. So tell me, when there's a couple that is coming to see you for one of those reasons,
Yeah.
is there usually one person who is like, I mean, I'm sure this is the case sometimes, but is there one person who is just like, I don't want to be here. I'm only
Always.
doing this because this person, my wife, my husband told me we had to do this.
Always, like 99.9%. It's not me, it's you. I'm just here because otherwise we're divorcing. But then what happens, and what's so amazing is, well, EJ and I, like, we're really fun people and we have this amazing crew. Like, we're super picky about hiring our clinicians because we want them to feel very safe, because that's what we're trying to do with couples, build emotional safety. And so, very early on, we have a whole structured approach. Like, we do feelings wheels, and they have to check in with their feelings, and a ton of different experiential things we do. But couples actually find it to be very like fun and playful, even though it's difficult. So, it's not like, it doesn't feel grueling. Like, even if you have that pattern where it's like, it's not me, it's her, or it's not her, it's me, or whatever the blame is, because of the safety the therapist provides very early on in a very neutral environment. Because we're about to record this podcast this Friday, like the myths about couples therapy. Oh, the therapist will side with one. It's not true for our center. I know some therapists can get like triangulated. That's easy to do, but EJ and I provide such training and supervision so that both people feel seen and heard. And kind of our dialogue is like, listen, like, both of you guys are suffering and you're really alone in it. And we're going to try to support you in feeling somewhat together in it so that you can make the decisions that you need to make for yourselves, each other, and your family. And usually that kind of dialogue is like, okay. And I think it helps that couples, like, we don't allow vent sessions. Like, we do sometimes, especially if we're doing like crisis stabilization. But we always have an agenda, and we say, listen, like, I get that you really want to talk about that, but you're not going to hear it differently. And guess what? You've got 23 hours outside of this session to go do that, but you can't do it here. And so we've really set up a system where couples feel very safe quickly, and we don't allow it to, as much as we can, get out of the window of tolerance where it becomes toxic.
I could see that would lead to leaving the session feeling much worse anyways. Like, I'm sure with the way you have it set up, that your goal is probably to be more connected, feel better at the end of the session versus I just sometimes just venting, I feel like you end up feeling much worse at the end of that.
Well, it's like that whole thing, like, oh, we talk and there's no action. So couples get this like 130-page couples manual I wrote, and they have to commit to doing all of these things outside of session, just spending quality time together. Because that's the thing, couples come in and it's like, oh, where's your quality time? What? Oh, you want to have sex again, but you guys aren't having any quality time together? Guess what? That's not going to happen. And so even if it's not about doing the at-home lessons, which I tried to make our at-home lessons fun, playful, curious, but also deep,
Mm-hmm.
just spend that 50, 60 minutes so that you're setting your relationship as a priority, because all these other things have gotten in the way of it. And now both of you are right in a really difficult place. And so and then they know, like they'll come in, they'll be like, we didn't do our homework. I'm like, that's fine. You're not in trouble. But did you spend 50 minutes of quality time together this week? And then what we found too is once couples, we kind of call it a graduation ish. They finish, they'll use that time they were in therapy to go have their date nights. And it's really cool because we follow up with couples 8 years later. We started our company 8 years ago, and they're still doing their weekly check-ins and their date night. And it's kind of cool to see everything that has been literally developed because of those colicky twins and my
Mm.
passion for couples and EJ's reluctance yet willing to like go on this ride with me.
Aw, I love that. It's fun to talk about that type of thing with couples. You have children a lot of times. It is so busy. I mean, I talk to so many people. I'm so busy. We
Yeah.
have sports, we have school, and it's like 50 minutes a week. When you say it, it's like that's not a big deal to fit in, but then it is unless you actually think about scheduling that in. It's really hard to make it happen because life can just fill up. Your
Yeah.
time slots can fill up so easily as a parent.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the piece about when couples come to the Relationship Renovation Counseling Center. We're like, listen, if you want to do sessions every other week like that, we're not the people for you. Like you
Mm.
got to kind of give a 4 to 6 month commitment, and you got to be willing to do this and set this time aside. If you're willing to do that, we've got you. Because it's not realistic. Like EJ and I don't have 50 minutes we're together all the time every day, but we don't have quality time. But we wake up every morning and we have our 15 minutes of our check-in. And then we always have a date night on Saturday, even if the kids are just in the back of the house. We're like, okay, we're going to do our little Yahtzee up front. So it's not even every day. It's just when you sign up to kind of do that work with each other, we let them know, here's the expectations. And like, if you're not doing this, then we don't want to set you up for failure. Maybe it's just not the right time right now. Or we can refer you someone out in the community that does way like different approach. Our approach isn't for everybody.
I like that you said that, even if it's just like Yahtzee in the front of the house and the kids are, because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people be like, okay, what does that mean? I have to find a sitter every single week. I have to get dressed out of my sweats. So like, yes,
Oh
I think
yeah.
there is a time and place to do that. And I think it's important to do that. But I think when you have too high of expectations and you put too much of like, it has to be like, look a certain way. I think that's when it could be easy to be like, forget it. I don't
No,
want to do that.
it's gotta be realistic. And
Yeah.
it's like even if you're just willing to do a 10-minute once a day, like or even pillow talk at night after everything is done, just you're finding anything you can to make this couple actually spend time with each other again. Because really, at the end of the day, they're both saying the same thing. They feel unimportant, they feel insignificant, they feel taken advantage of or taken for granted. And at the end of their kind of journey with us and their continued work, like they feel seen. Like, yeah, what's it like for, right? Like, let's just say one of those partners who is kind of, well, they've shown up every week for 2 months. What might that mean? Yes, it might be a little bit harder to get some vulnerability out of that partner, but actions speak louder than words. And so just being that therapist that's constantly like their biggest cheerleader, if you will, because
Ugh.
couples do, they want it fast, man. They're like, okay, and then in 4 months, Tara, you're saying in 4 months. And I'm like, no, just give us at least 4 months. Trust the process for at least 4 months. That's about
That,
how many lessons I created. I have
yeah.
one couple that I've been working with for 5 years now, and they were just now ready to start the relationship renovation model. They went through wicked infidelity, and it took years to do trauma work, individual work, shame work in order to get them to this place. And you know what? They stuck in it, they survived it. And now I'm, for the first time, taking them through our model. And that's okay that it took 5 years. Like they're super excited. They would not have been able to do it had they, it would have, it would have failed because they didn't have that trust. They didn't have that emotional safety.
That's a good reminder that we have to be patient. I mean, that goes with a lot of different things. I talk about weight loss on my show. We talk about health. It's the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
if you have these unrealistic expectations or you're comparing yourself to somebody else, it's like we're all on our own journey. And
Yeah.
and when you are, speaking of that couple that you just spoke about and with the trauma in the past and everything, I can imagine this is very common for couples to individually come with their own, like, I don't know, they say
Oh, yeah.
baggage, their own past, their own traumas from their other relationships
Yeah.
or their lives. How do you work with couples that are bringing that to the relationship and that is causing a lot of issues and problems within the relationship?
I love that you asked that because, first of all, I have goosebumps because so many couples don't even recognize it's that attachment pattern. It's that childhood unmet needs that's being activated. They just think this partner is annoying the shit out of me. Tell them to stop. And that's where, so we take all of our couples through what's called a genogram process, where we get 3 generations of their family. We really look at all the different family dynamics, generational trauma passed down, addiction, mental health stuff, avoidance, codependency, poor boundaries. We get all of that identified, and then we take each couple while they're together, each partner through their entire life. Like, how did your parents manage emotions and stress? How did you manage stress from, 5th grade? And then what was it like for you in high school? What did you learn about sex? I mean, we get to know them so much at such a core level. And usually couples don't recognize that about each other. And when we do this very early on, because otherwise they won't hear things differently, that process, it takes about 6 sessions. It builds so much compassion because the narrative going in was like, ugh, I'm just a bad person, so you're yelling at me, versus, oh my God, you just withdraw and yell because that's what your mom and dad did, and you have no idea what else to do. This isn't about me. This is something that you've known your whole life. This is how you developed emotionally, or how you avoid, or how you attack. And so there's just this level of empathy and compassion that builds because of that, which then allows, right? We've got our communication series and our intimacy series, but you couldn't be able to do that without some understanding of yourself and each other's. We call them negative core beliefs. Like I'm insignificant. Mine was I'm insignificant, right? I'll never forget the day EJ and I got into this fight, and I created this cognitive restructuring technique because of that argument. And it is one of the most powerful tools we use with couples. We can't use it too early or it'll actually rupture. But it's like you take the trigger, right? Like, let's just say a fight happens and EJ walks away, and I'm like, oh my God, of course you're walking away, you avoidant, blah, 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 right? You just get into that blaming, yelling. And you take we have a code word. You take your code word, ours is burnt toast, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go reflect. I don't want to be out of my window of tolerance, but I want to understand what's happening for me, because my heart is racing. I feel overwhelmed. I'm yelling. I know that that's not my heart. So you go back and you say, okay, here's all the thoughts. Like, what a jerk. He's always walking. I mean, all the thoughts, all the unfiltered thoughts. You're just going through all of it in your head, and the emotions that go with those thoughts. And it's the thoughts, the feelings, and then the behaviors, right, that go along with that trigger. So then you start to recognize all of that. And then you're like, what does this remind me of? Right? What is this negative core belief? Because usually it's under all of that is, I'm unloved, I'm unimportant, there's something wrong with me, I'm crazy, I'm invisible, I'm not good enough, I can't get it right, I can't be me, I'm not safe is a huge one for people with trauma. Okay, so you start to identify what is the negative core belief that's actually being activated. Okay, and then now you have a chance. You have a choice now. I can continue with that behavior that's just externalizing everything and projecting and blaming, or I can go back and let my partner know, I've got to let you know when this happened, when you walk away, here's what happens. And it reminds me of, gosh, when I was in 8th grade and my dad gave us up for adoption, and he didn't even tell us, like didn't even come back for us. I mean, that's deep. That's actually my story, but it's like, it's powerful. And then you keep going through these learning spells through your triggers, and then you get to know each other really better. And then it's not about that I'll never trigger EJ or that he won't trigger me. You just get better at understanding, managing, and now there's no threat to the relationship because it's not like they're not doing it on purpose, right? We're just being triggered and we're understanding it better. Now we have a chance to grow together. And in our lobby, it says, our partner is our greatest teacher. Be patient for the lessons. Because it's so true. Like, I'm so glad EJ triggers me, even though he hates fighting. I'm like, that was awesome. I feel so much better now. I like know more about myself. And it continues. I mean, we just had like a fight on Friday, but guess what? Within 2 hours, we repaired it. Used to be 2, 3 days. Some couples don't repair it ever. It goes under the rug for years and years. And so it's just like you learn the skills on how to understand it and deal with it. And hopefully you're in it together. And if you're not, well, then at least you've tried. And then you know that like, at least I'm going to be my better self for the next relationship. That's another just FYI, because I do the divorce statistics. First marriages, I believe it's 49.7% right now. Second marriages, 63% divorce rate. Third marriages, it's in the 70%. Why? It follows you. You could pick someone so different, the opposite of what you were married to. The same stuff will happen if you don't understand what's happening.
Those statistics are wild.
It's crazy. And I should check that. I haven't checked it in a few months, but that was the latest.
That's really crazy. I loved what you were talking about with, having the triggers that are coming up and really becoming conscious of, okay, this is why, is so helpful. And it's also helpful for your partner because it's easy to say, don't take things personal. That's so hard to do. I mean, I tell my kids not to, don't take that personal, but obviously that's what we do. And if you have that understanding of the other person and why, the reason why, and like where it's coming from, it is so much easier not to take it personal. And like I think it's like what you're saying is like really being so much more conscious of why, the reason why. And that is, and then you, like you said, that compassion can be there. And then you can have that clear communication. And I wanted to ask you, because I feel like this is probably one of the things that a lot of couples come to you with, like, help us with, is communication. I might be wrong, but tell me, help us communicate. Like I can see that is a skill that a lot of us don't have. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I feel like with couples therapy, that's probably a pretty current theme.
Okay. So let me just give you like a visual. Like, heterosexual couples come in and the guy's like, I just want to talk about sex. And I'm like, well, yeah, well, we can. I know that that's important and that you want more of it. But we've got to build emotional safety first. And they're like, what the hell does that mean? And so it is about understanding what emotional safety is, because you can't talk about any subject that's vulnerable, whether that's right, like body image, sex, intimacy, without having emotional safety first. And emotional safety is built over time. It's built through ruptures, but saying like, listen, that sucked, but I love you and I want to hear your suffering. Most of us defend against it. Oh, you hurt me? Well, you hurt me worse. I hurt you, you hurt me worse, right? It's this tit for tat. Building emotional safety is being able to be like, wow, I was just a huge jerk in that moment. I could tell that I really hurt you. I'm really sorry. But that just doesn't happen. We're not wired to do that. We're wired to defend ourselves. And now our partner becomes a threat. That's what we see. Like, we have these huge couches, which I wanted to like get these mini love seats now. They come and they're like, I'm like, why did I get L-shaped sofas for? I thought they looked really good. They sit on the opposite ends, and but you go with that, right? They're threats to each other. And I'm like, before we can talk about sex, about this affair, about whatever it is that's irritating you, it's going to take a minute to build some emotional safety. And I do a ton of coaching in session, because how many well, you said this, and you hang on. I'm constantly swapping back and forth, being the therapist and then like coaching it as partner A or partner B, and then going back and have them, doing it like, I have to let you know I felt this when this behavior happened. Right. And so it's a lot of coaching so that they can get the skills in session to then use it outside, because you can hear it all day long. Use I statements, right? Share vulnerable feelings. Like, you're not, unless you practice it over and over with someone who feels safe. And I always say it's going to be clunky and you're repeating after me. And I know it sounds silly, but like, trust me, it's just we're building skills. And it's so cute how, like, after a while, they'll stop themselves, like I'm like, oh, and they start to, no more coaching is needed on my half. I'm just like, good for you that you just caught that. It's so great. And so so basically emotional safety. And sometimes I don't want to like mischaracterize this for men, but a lot of men are like, I'm safe. I don't physically hurt. And we say, we totally get that. But when there is avoidance and denial, like EJ is king of avoidance, like him just looking at me blankly is so hurtful. And he didn't understand. He was just staring out into nothing. But his avoidance felt terrifying to me because of my own trauma as a child. And he had to recognize, oh, you're right, Tara, that is a defense mechanism. Like, I'm staring sort of at you, but not at you, just thinking, here we go again. And he was willing to like hear that and do his own work around his defensiveness, but because avoidant personality disorder, avoidant attachment style can feel very overwhelming, like it'll never end because it's so strong. I just knew that like I could see EJ in there, and he truly didn't know he was being defensive. But he was in massive protection mode. And so if I could soften it up, like, hey, I know that I feel a little nervous right now, I would say to him, and I'm not sure what's going on. Is it okay if like we take a little time out or a breather? And then he would always come back and be like, you're right, Tara, I was in my head. I was like, why did you just tell me to wear that color of t-shirt? I feel criticized. And I'm like, yes. But he's so scared of expressing his feelings because he thinks something bad will happen because of his own stuff. So the more I'm like reinforce him sharing his feelings, even though he felt criticized and hurt by me, I am like, thank you. That feels so good than you saying nothing at all or pretending like I'm like the crazy one with all the emotions. And so we see a lot of anxious and avoidant styles. They're usually perfectly fit together. The more anxious one partner is, the more avoidant the other person is. And so we do this little dance of vulnerability as soon as they're feeling safe with us. And so building that emotional safety for the communication piece is key. And we go through like active listening. What does that really mean? If you're like already getting your story down when your partner is talking, you're not being a good active listener. We're actually really bad listeners. And so we do like little tips on how to actively listen. Like, even because I am such a talker, and EJ's got this like little thing in his forehead that when he's talking, and so I'm like, I'm going to look at his little furrow thing and I'm going to be really present because I really want to interrupt, but I'm not going to interrupt because I really want to hear him. Like, you've got to find these like little tips of being active listening. And then we just go through the I statements. We go through like a ton of vulnerable feelings, what's under anger, what's under resentment, what's under blame. And then we do the whole cognitive restructuring piece around the negative core beliefs. And then another big piece is content versus process. Couples get lost in content all day long. It is not about the t-shirt. It's not about the t-shirt. It's about that you feel criticized, right? And you felt that often when you were young, and that you felt like you can't be you, and that I'm telling you what to do and now I'm your mom. Like, no, that's it. So you go to the process piece, and so many couples get stuck in that content. So when we help them understand the process, then there's that like, oh, we're going there again. That's not good. Whether it's a first thought, like EJ was like, here we go again. Mine was a feeling in my head. Mine was somatic. I would feel like a bowling ball was in my head, and I knew, no bueno, this is going nowhere good. So anytime EJ had that thought for him, he would use his code word, or I had that feeling. Most of the time, if you can do it 7 out of 10 times, and we still get it wrong, but we use our code word less, our intensity is less, frequency is less, duration is less. That's how we monitor couples' progress too. We get a good baseline of how often they're arguing, how long it takes for them to come back together, what's the intensity. And usually after a couple of months, it's already cut in half. And then we also do these emotional safety questionnaires, beginning, middle, and end, so that you can really see emotional safety being built. So now if it's time to really address the affair, now we can do it in a way that's not going to feel damaging, threatening, or toxic. But I won't go there until certain emotional safety pieces have been developed.
I love. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's that eggshell walking. Like if there's still eggshells, it's just my whole goal is to have your nervous system like relaxed in session, so you don't have to be in flight, fight, freeze, fawn, all the different trauma responses with our partners and with ourselves that we go through.
Yeah, I love what you said about the active listening. I feel like that is probably so common of like, I can't wait to like collect all the reasons why I'm right here and like figure out what I'm going to say so that when they're done, I'm like, but then you're missing so much. And, I feel like I'm pretty good at active listening being a podcaster, because if I'm not paying attention, I'm not going to know where we are. So I feel like I've been pretty good at that skill, but that's tough that I'm right, you're wrong. How powerful is that to really create barriers with communication, right? Is that something that you see a lot of, just that wanting to, or even knowing, I am in the right here and I'm not going to let go of that being right.
Yeah. Defense strategy. Like, how is that working for you? Is that bringing you closer together? Oh, it's not. Yeah, of course, because it's just a strategy to protect ourselves. And it does take some processing to get through that. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, everyone can get through it. There are some people that it's just, they have so much protective gear up for so many reasons that maybe it's just not their time. I do have to share this because it was like one of the sweetest stories. He was like 83. She was younger. They were both academia professors. He had never, right? They'd both, traveled a lot and not really into the feelings talk. And she had gotten diagnosed with terminal cancer. And she's like, listen, I'm going to need you to do some feelings for me. At 83, they come in. He's like, I'm ready. Give me the feelings wheel. Like, he showed up for her last few months of life. At 80, it is never too late. I remember he brought me this napkin back. Like, I have mixed drinks about feelings from this bar. And I was like, thank you for sharing that. I know this is really hard, but it's like those moments of inspiration, like when you think nobody can change. Like, I just have so much hope for all humans because I've seen like miracles happen from the most fragile, protective, suffering beings. And it's like, you just never give up hope. And that's not saying to make sure a couple stays together. I'm not in that ballpark at all. I feel like there's some couples that should not be together. But what is this person in your life right now teaching you? What are the blind spots? How do I grow from this so I can have a healthy relationship either with this person or in the future? That everyone comes into our life, to me, for like a growing reason. And if you keep getting jaded and not looking at what those what that growth is, what that knowledge could be, like that's where you're missing out. And there's just so many people blaming each other, especially now, and like you name it. It's just like, God, we say this, like, if you're in a partnership and you feel alone, that's actually worse than being single.
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to try to feel connected with this person that you fell in love with so everything out there feels more manageable? But it's like when you're already going through all this external stress and this is stressful, like so much hopelessness. So much hopelessness, but there's hope. We're the hope holders, right? I call all of our therapists, we are the hope holders, even if they are desperate and powerless, and they're here, they're showing up.
Yeah.
We'll see if this works. And I was going to share one more thing so because you were, what was it? This is my perimenopause brain now. Yeah. Now we're going, that's like a whole other thing that my husband gets to deal with.
Same here.
Oh my God, Jessica. I'm like, what was I just talking about?
Same.
Acceptance versus resignation. Okay, so couples come in and they are resigned. This will never get better. I will never get better. We'll never get better. They'll never get better. And this was like, I used this in my own, because it was like that first year of twins. I was like, this is never ending. They'll never stop crying. I'll never stop nursing. And then I had to realize, actually, that's not true. There's this acceptance piece. Like, it won't be like this forever, but it's really hard right now. That made me feel more empowered. Now I have a sense of agency. Now I have a choice. But when you're in resignation, total disempowerment, total powerlessness, now I'm a victim to this. And so very early on, we help couples realize you're not a victim to this. Like, you have a choice and you're choosing to be here. And yes, you're going through a really bad spot right now. It's not going to be like this forever. We don't know what 3 months holds right now. But if you can just shift that resignation piece to acceptance. And I did a ton of this work with eating disorder behaviors, right? I just want to look like this. I just want to look, well, you can't just go have surgery and in 3 hours, your body's going to look like this. Like you said, there's this patience. How do you internalize acceptance? Like, it won't be like this forever. I trust that things will be different, and I'm going to do whatever I can right now to be my best self during this really crappy feeling, crappy situation, whatever is happening.
Oh, it's very inspiring when you look at it like that. And, like you said, there's no guarantees of what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, at the end of this process, if you put in the work, you're going to be better for it, and hopefully better in your relationship. So I think this is so inspiring, really. Before we tell everybody where to find you, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience about this topic? Because it's all been so helpful.
I feel like I always get emotional here. I just feel like I'm so grateful that something in my heart told me to not give up and to stay with EJ and do all of this work, because it's now helped like thousands of couples. Like, we have couples from all over the world saying, I just listened to your podcast and it's like been so helpful. And I just feel like so many people go the other way because they don't feel like there is hope. And I think it's just like putting in the work. Like, even if your partner doesn't want to, you doing something different changes everything. I love Tara Brach. Her podcast is always amazing. We use the RAIN protocol with all of our clients because it's recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. Like, even if you have a partner that's not willing to change, you doing your own work and understanding what those triggers are and why you're feeling so uncomfortable, like, that's enough. So don't stay stuck in it. Don't cut off from it. Like, just to have that, because like, if I didn't do that 8 years later, we wouldn't be in this place where we're amazing for our kids. I'm amazing for me. EJ's amazing for himself. We have these amazing therapists and interns we get to train, couples hugging in our parking lot every day. Like, it's just, you think about that one instant, like, do I divorce or do we open up a couples counseling center and have to do the work? Let's do the right? Because we have to do the work. We can't be hypocrites.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
That is so beautiful. It's so hopeful. And I know the right people are going to hear this message today.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jessica. You have been wonderful to be interviewed by. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, tell everybody where they can find you. And I'll make sure to leave it in the show notes as well, because I know they will want to go and find where you are.
I mean, just like our website, relationshiprenovation.com, it's got access to our podcast. I think it has all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I don't know, all of that. Okay. We have our R&R, Relationship Renovation at Home program that we developed over COVID 2020, which now couples all over the world have been doing. And we're actually going to be starting coaching sessions globally later this year. So that's exciting. A lot of people like do the at-home program. They're like, oh, it would be great to just like have a couple of like video calls. And we're like, yeah, that's a great idea. So yeah, I would just say relationshiprenovation.com.
Okay, perfect. I will leave that in the show notes as well. Thank you for sharing with us today. You are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. So are you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.